Hey, what's going on? This is Travis from Expert Advisor Reviews, and in this video, what we're going to end up doing is dialing it back a little bit and going back to our first Expert Advisor review that we ended up doing, which was on the WAKA WAKA EA. Funny part about it was that it wasn't on this page. It was actually on my Trade with Travis page. So what I'm going to end up doing is basically re-uploading that video so you can be able to take a look at it, because the WAKA WAKA has had 5 years of uninterrupted profits, meaning that it has not had a negative month, and it should be put out there so everybody can be able to see it and understand why it's such a great product. So without that being said, let's go ahead and get right into it. So let's talk about what the WAKA WAKA is, why it's so popular, why it has over 5,000 people end up downloading it from a demo perspective, and should you look at being able to purchase it as one of the systems that allow you to be able to create passive income by being able to use the Expert Advisor. So to be able to go over it, this system has been brought out and published back in August 19th of 2021. This is the 3.17 current version of the overall system, and currently at this particular point, as we talk about from this video, it's going to have 15 purchases at this month for over $1,500 when it comes down to the overall sales price. Now, if you really think about that, that is a very good value, especially for if this system does exactly what it's expected to do when it comes down to being able to win at a high percentage and allowing you to be able to not necessarily do a lot of stuff because it's fully automated. Now, the WAKA WAKA is an advanced grid system that already has been set on real accounts for years. Essentially, what it does is that it takes a look at being able to exploit the overall existing market inefficiencies and basically allows you to be able to get into the best trades based off of mean reversion. Now, you take a look at the overall pairs that they actually recommend. They end up recommending the Australian CAD, the Australian New Zealand dollar, and the New Zealand CAD, and they recommend being able to do this based off of the 15-minute time frame. Now, the one thing that I do like about this and being able to take a look at it from a testing perspective, you only have to do it off of one chart. I end up opening up the Australian CAD when I end up doing my overall back testing before we end up going through this, and essentially what ended up happening was that even though I had the Australian CAD as the overall chart they were basically going through, it ended up trading the Australian New Zealand dollar and the New Zealand CAD on that one chart. So that's one good feature that allows me to be able to just open up one chart, but still be able to have all three systems trading at the same time. Now, this is not a hedging account. It allows you to be able to get into the overall trade somewhat fast. The one thing that it does recommend is that you will basically use a good ECN broker, and allows you to be able to use something called a VPS. If you're not necessarily familiar with a VPS, is a virtual private server. If you're interested in being able to learn a little bit more, I'm going to end up dropping inside of the comments the virtual private server that I end up using for all of my EAs. Now, essentially what this system does is that it ends up using Bollinger Bands, RSIs, maximum RSIs, and be able to find the best trades based off of the parameters that they actually end up having placed in. And then from there, it allows it to be able to take multiple trades in, and based off of those multiple trades, it's trying to scout the market as much as it possibly can based off of using mean reversion. Now, when we end up going through our overall back testing portion of this video, you can be able to easily be able to see that. Now, taking a look at this when it comes down to reviews and everything else, it has a 4.55 review. Which is very good. You can take a look at the overall growth since 2018 and seen that it's had over 3,000% when it comes down to its overall trading. It's had over 50 consecutive months in profit. Now, that's very important for people that are looking to be able to use this from a long-term trading system. The one thing that I truly like being able to see, even though we end up taking a look at the numbers being in the millions or anything else like that, is that the equity curve is overall high. Yes, you may end up having some equities where the market may end up having a little bit of a drawdown, but the equity curve, the overall percentage when it comes down to trading is high. As you take a look at it, being able to win over 75% based off of the photos and based off of the pictures and everything else like that they have put together. Now, being able to take a look at this, obviously, Vallejo Trading ends up having a video that you can be able to take a look at and everything else. But what we're getting ready to do is getting ready to download it, and we're getting ready to jump into the overall market and back test it for ourselves and see if it's actually worth our time and money of being able to spend. Okay, so we're here on my terminal. I end up using Osprey. Osprey is the actual broker that I end up using for my personal EAs, and I'm going to end up doing it and testing it based off of Osprey as well. I know based off of the testing that I end up looking at, I end up seeing that they end up doing it based off of Aussie markets, but we've already done downloaded. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the actual parameters and features that they actually end up having in here.
And there's a lot of stuff that you can be able to take a look at and be able to adjust and be able to go from there. Now, obviously, because it is a demo and being able to go from there, there's already recommended settings that are already placed in. And typically, when you end up taking a look at most expert advisors, either in the comments section, you can be able to click on some of the set files that they already have set up for you. So this one already has it set up for 10,000. You can be able to have different types of lot size methods, whether if it's a auto lot or a dynamic lot, or being able to have a low risk or mid risk when it comes down to whatever percentage that you have, which is very effective for people that are not necessarily looking at being able to say, hey, I just want to displace in a fixed lot or anything else like that. You want to be able to have your money be able to compound based off of whatever percentage that you want to be able to place in. They end up having a deposit load, overall tester withdrawal, which is actually pretty cool. I think that happens a little bit more when you're actually purchase it and have it from a live perspective. Allows you to be able to hedge, which is yes on there. You can be able to see the max open lots that you can be able to place in, which is basically 1,000. It has a max floating drawdown, a max floating drawdown with money, a max floating drawdown limit, which is based off of the FTMO rules, a max daily drawdown limit, a max daily drawdown limit with reset hours, which is very important to be able to pass that FTMO test, especially if you're trying to do it from an automated perspective. So being able to plug in, whether if it's FTMO or Surge Trader or anything else like that, you can be able to place in those numbers to be able to fit the requirement, which will allow you to be able to use this system exclusively instead of having to be able to manually trade when it comes down to that. As we go through and take a look at it, it has different grid levels. It has different times of day that you can be able to trade, whether it's true or false. So if you don't want to trade on Monday, you can be able to click on false. It has rollover hours that are basically set up for you that's already placed inside of the parameters. And then after that, it has the strategy settings that are already set up for the 3 different pairs that they have placed in. Obviously, you do this based off of a 15-minute time frame. The overall take profit on this one is basically 10 pips. And when we end up going through the testing, you can be able to see why that's important. One other thing to be able to pay attention to is the overall grid distance. They have a trade distance, they have a smart distance, and then after that has a second trade modifier. Now, which is very important. That's very important when it comes down to being able to trade, because typically in mean revision type of systems, the first trade is not necessarily the greatest trade. The first trade allows you to be able to get in, so you can be able to have a second, third, and fourth trade to allow you to be able to get in profit. And when I ended up testing this before, it actually ended up helping out when it came down to making sure that that first trade was either a win or a break-even loss compared to the trades that you end up placing in, which means that the first in and first out system is actually pretty good on this one as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the overall back testing and see how well this actually does. What we're going to end up doing is a back test from January 3rd of 2022 all the way up to November 3rd. And once again, I have not changed any of the settings or anything else like that. The only thing that I have actually done is be able to click on the play and be able to move some of this stuff down. I do see that it has a standard deviation, RSI of 20, ATR 96, and an ATR 672. And then after that, it has some type of moving average. This moving average that I'm looking at is a 36-day moving average. Obviously, I guess that to be able to show what the overall trend is. So let's go ahead and play this. Now, the one thing that I do like right off the top is that it ends up having a display board that you can be able to see a lot of information. The overall leverage, the overall lot size, your floating profit and loss, any comments that you end up having, the GMC, GMC and everything else like that ends up going along with that, which I think is actually cool. And if you end up taking a look at how the trades are being able to go in, and I'm going to pause it for one quick second so you can be able to see it. The trades that are being placed in, let's say, I guess it's saying WAKA, so I'm guessing that's the first trade. And then after that, you have WAKA 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to set this up to where you can be able to just take a look at it based off of pairs. When you end up taking a look at it based off of pairs, you end up having the first initial trade. Let's see. Do a bad ticket. First initial trade ends up going in. You end up having a price. The stop loss on this one is basically 100 pips, and then after that, the take profit on this one is basically 10 pips. So you end up taking a look at that based off of the first, second, and third trade that ends up getting placed in. Essentially, what happens is that if the first trade does not end up hitting take profit, then the second and third trade will continue to be able to cover up that first trade's loss. So let's say if the first trade gets placed in and it's down 12 pips, then the second trade will end up doing 22 pips for the overall take profit to ensure that you end up winning 10 pips based off of the parameter settings. Now, obviously, I'm pretty sure that Valero Trading ends up having a way to where you can be able to adjust that and be able to go from there. But it seems like I think that will end up being a pretty good setting to be able to take a look at and be able to go from there. And obviously, because it is a scalping type of system, and it seems like it's going in from the hour standpoint. It seems like it's going in at the commons portions of the market, and it seems like it's working well. So I'm going to let this kind of play out. I'm going to take myself off the screen, and then after that, we'll come back and take a look at how well the system actually ends up doing for its overall profit. And then after that, I'm going to end up giving my thoughts as we go through and take a look at how well the system actually ends up doing. As we go through and be able to take a look at some of the trades that's actually being placed in, it does a very good job of being able to keep the overall curve up. Now, obviously, we're seeing a little bit of equity uh, equity drawdown when it comes down to unrealized profit or loss that is basically happening. However, if the stop loss never ends up getting triggered, and once the stop loss is very high for this compared to the actual take profit, then that means that you don't necessarily have to worry about that as much. As we're going through, we can see that obviously we're getting that straight line curve. It's showing the same way as we end up seeing it in the previous videos or the previous screenshots that we end up seeing before in this video. But it shows a lot of potential of being able to grow. And obviously, we take a look at it from January to February, we see that the market is doing its thing from there. What I'm going to end up doing is actually skipping ahead and seeing how well the system actually ends up doing from an overall number at the end. As we go through and be able to take a look at the overall testing, over the course of the last 11 months at this particular page, based off 100% tick data, we can see that this system ended up winning over 78% of its overall trades. And when it comes down to a drawdown perspective, the drawdown was very low based off of this with a 1.06 when it came down to the drawdown. Profit factor was over 2.07. Obviously, it ended up trading every day. Obviously, it has other features that you can be able to work along with it. That includes being able to take a look at the news filters that they end up having. Obviously, all of the filters that you end up having when it comes down to a prop firm challenge, or anything else like that, which is nice. And obviously, being able to take a look at the equity curve is also a very good thing. Obviously, you can be able to see, depending on if you end up panicking when it comes down to a trade or anything else like that, you can be able to let some trades go when it comes down to that percentage, or depending on how aggressive you are when it comes down to the system, you may not necessarily go out to 10 pips, so you may end up raising your overall lot size when it comes down to this movement. But when it comes down to overall wins and being consistent, this is a very consistent system to be able to use. So here's my overall thoughts when it comes down to the Waka Waka system. One, is very intuitive. I think that it has a very good presentation when it comes down to when you end up clicking onto the system and being able to see all of the stuff on the features on the top left hand side. From an overall trading perspective, if you are a trend trader or a scalper that likes to be able to get in and be able to get out of the market, this is something that can really be able to work for you. If you're looking to be able to have a system that will end up trading for you and now allow you to be able to get explosive gains and be able to cash out each and every month, you will have to be able to raise up the overall lot percentage size and everything else like that. I'm pretty sure that they already have a set file setting for you to be able to do so. But from a person that is a swing trader, swing trader or anything else like that, I would say that you'll probably have to change your mindset on how this actually trades to be able to allow it to be able to feel more comfortable for you to be able to trade from there. But overall, it trades three pairs. These three pairs typically are in consolidation a lot. That's why the grid feature really works out very well for them. And from an overall standpoint of how many people have reviewed on it and how many people have believed that the system is actually very good, there's a lot of people basically backing this as one of the better systems when it comes down to the program. So I really would recommend this to anyone that is interested in being able to use a scalping system, that use a grid trading type of system, that doesn't necessarily care about being able to pull a lot of money out within month to month and allow it to be able to have that long-term stable growth. And from there, out of 10, if I had to give it a number when it comes down to that, I'll probably end up giving it a 9. The reason why I wouldn't necessarily give it a full 10 is because, one, I wish there was some more pairs that you could be able to trade off of it. Obviously, we'll take a look at the Australian pairs. They typically end up moving pretty slow, but I think that's the advantage of being able to have this system, be able to trade those three pairs and those three pairs alone. But if you like what I end up doing, please make sure in the comment section you end up recommending another expert advisor that you're interested in being able to take a look at inside of the MQL marketplace, and we will go through our overall expert opinion on how we believe this will end up benefiting you and everything else like that. But this one is definitely a hit. If you're interested in being able to learn a little bit more about what we end up doing, please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.